You are taking everything I built. 50 years of work. My gold, my seat, my legacy. You would send the Lord of Casterly Rock to the wall.
I would send the man who aimed a child at my son and called it statecraft to the oldest order in the world, where he will spend what is left of his life serving something that will outlast him and carry none of his name. You spent 50 years building permanence, Lord Tywin. I am taking the permanence. The years are yours to keep.
You are doing this because I underestimated you.
No. I am doing this because you underestimated my son. I would have forgiven the first one. I don't forgive the second.
What if Jon Snow was the true-born son of King Robert Baratheon and Lyanna Stark? Let's explore this alternate timeline together in the video. 3 years have passed since the Prince of Dragonstone rode back from Sunspear with 4 men and a Dornish raven, and the court has spent those 3 years learning what it is living inside. The lords who arrived expecting the usual machinery of a young crown prince, the deference, the careful courtesy, the willingness to be managed by men with longer memories, found something else in the room. They found a man who had already read the room before they finished entering it, who had already decided what he wanted from the conversation before they opened their mouths, and who was perfectly pleasant about all of it, in a way that left them with nothing to push against, and everything they had said somehow converted into exactly the outcome Jon intended. The lords who understood this quickly adapted. The lords who did not kept finding themselves in conversations they thought they were winning until they were outside the door, looking back at the result. Lyanna watches all of it from the throne beside Robert, with the satisfaction of someone watching a long argument finally resolved by evidence. Robert watches it with the pride of a man who helped build the thing, and the particular pleasure of seeing it work on men who underestimated it. Jon is 21 years old, and the court belongs to him in every way that matters, and there is one man left in the 7 kingdoms who has not accepted that fact, and that man is in Casterly Rock, and he has been very busy. Tywin Lannister's plan has 4 years of patience behind it, and is built on the one vulnerability he identified in everything Robert and Lyanna constructed, which is the question of blood. Not military or political legitimacy, the older and more corrosive kind, the kind that works through rumor and doubt and the quiet conversations lords have when they think no one important is listening. Jon Baratheon's claim rests on a northern marriage before a heart tree, witnessed by 2 men, confirmed by a hand's declaration, and accepted by a realm that needed the stability badly enough to accept it. All of that is solid, none of it is unquestionable, and Tywin has spent 4 years building a question. The question has a face and a name. Violet eyes, silver hair, unmistakably Targaryen, and the name attached to it is Aegon, the claimed surviving son of Rhaegar and Elia, smuggled from King's Landing before the sack, and raised in the free cities under the protection of Illyrio Mopatis and the financial backing of Tywin Lannister, who decided 4 years ago that the only move left to him was the one that made Jon's legitimacy dissolve before it could be challenged. The Golden Company, 20,000 sellswords with no broken contracts in their history, has been retained to carry this claim across the narrow sea. The fleet is assembled in Pentos Harbor. The plan is to land in the Stormlands, raise the 3-headed dragon, and let the question do what 40,000 swords behind the Golden Tooth could not. Robert learns of it through Varys, who delivers the information in the small council chamber in the manner he employs when bringing news he knows will produce a difficult immediate reaction, which is quietly and without preamble, and with every detail already organized. Robert listens without interrupting, which costs him something visible. And when Varys finishes, Robert looks at the table for a long moment and then looks at Jon, who has been sitting at the end of the table since the beginning and has not moved.
He funded a pretender. 4 years of congratulatory letters and compensation payments for the village his men burned, and diplomatic courtesy about the Martell situation. And underneath all of it, he has been building a Targaryen boy and pointing him at this throne like an arrow. He has been waiting for the right moment to loose for 4 years, and he has decided the moment is now. And I want to tell you what I want to do about it. and then I want you to tell me why I should not do it.
You want to take the royal army to the Golden Tooth and reduce it stone by stone, and then go to Pentos and burn the fleet in the harbor.
Yes.
That takes 3 months minimum and leaves King's Landing without the Crown's main military force for the duration, during which time every lord in the realm is watching to see who declares for the Pretender while you are occupied. And Tywin has spent 4 years identifying exactly which ones were willing to consider it. He does not need the Pretender to reach Westerosi soil. He needs the Pretender to be in motion long enough for the declarations to accumulate while you are too far away to stop them. The moment you leave the capital with the army, you have given him the opening the army was supposed to prevent.
Then what?
The fleet. I need the royal fleet and the Baratheon warships from Storm's End, and a conversation with Lord Stannis about the exact position of every Lannister asset between here and the Stepstones. 20,000 men on transport ships are not an army. They are 20,000 men trying not to be sick, who cannot form a line, cannot use their cavalry, cannot use their elephants, cannot use any of the things that make them dangerous on land. If I meet them in the Stepstones before they reach Westerosi soil, Tywin's plan ends in deep water rather than in the Stormlands, and you stay on the throne where the realm can see you looking entirely unconcerned. And this is a patrol rather than a crisis.
And Tywin himself?
Tywin comes last. Everything he has built depends on the Pretender reaching Westerosi soil and raising a banner lords can declare for. If the Pretender never arrives, Tywin has spent 4 years and a fortune on a fleet that sank before it was useful. And then we deal with him on our terms, in our room, on our timing, not before.
You want me to stay here while you take the fleet into the Stepstones?
I need you to stay here, yes. The moment you leave this city in armor, it becomes a crisis, regardless of what I do at sea. While you are on the throne, calm and present, it is a routine military action. I can handle a routine military action. What I cannot handle is the political damage of the king leaving the capital in response to a Pretender's banner before the Pretender has reached Westeros, because that is exactly the panic Tywin has been engineering. You staying here is the most important strategic decision in this campaign.
You are asking me to sit on a chair while my son goes to sea against 20,000 men.
I am asking you to hold the realm together by being visibly unconcerned, which is a different kind of fighting than the kind you prefer, but is the kind this situation requires. You won the rebellion with a hammer. This situation requires something that looks like nothing. You are capable of it. I have watched you learn it.
Your mother said that exact thing to me while you were riding here. Exact words.
She was right.
She always is. It is genuinely the most exhausting quality she has. How many ships do you need?
90. 75 warships and 15 supply ships. I want to be in the throat of the Stepstones before they clear Pentos Harbor, if the timing allows. And I have people in Bravos and Tyrosh who will give me their exact route and schedule for a reasonable amount of gold.
You have already arranged that.
3 days ago, yes. The riders left before Varys finished his report.
Robert is quiet for a long moment, looking at his son across the table, with the expression that is becoming familiar, the one that sits exactly between pride and something that has no name yet, because Robert has never had cause to feel it before.
Take what you need. Move in 5 days. Come back whole.
I will come back with their fleet.
Confident.
Accurate.
Lyanna finds him that evening in the map room, alone with the charts of the Stepstones spread across the table. And she does not knock, and she does not announce herself, because she has never needed to, and he has never expected her to. She stands at the edge of the table and looks at the chart, and then looks at her son.
Show me where.
Here, the throat. It is the narrowest navigable passage through the Stepstones on the southern route, which is the only deep water route available to a fleet that size. They have to come through it. There is no other option that does not add 4 days and push them into shallower water where the transports run aground. If I am sitting in the throat with 90 warships, they have 2 choices: turn back or parley. They will parley.
And if they do not parley?
Then I am in the throat with 90 warships, and they are in transport ships, and that is a very short conversation with a very one-sided outcome. But they will parley. The Golden Company did not build 20 years of unbroken contracts by making avoidable decisions to fight through blocked passages when negotiation was available. Their Captain General is a professional. Professionals calculate.
And the boy.
The boy is not a threat. The boy is a person who was handed a destiny he did not make and has been carrying it because no one ever offered to let him put it down. I am going to offer him that option, and I am going to let him take it without condition if he wants it.
You are certain he will?
I am certain I would have, in his position. I grew up knowing exactly who I was and where I stood, because two people I trusted told me the truth and kept telling it. He grew up being told he was owed a throne by men who needed him to believe it. That is a different kind of life and not a better one. And I think he knows it even if he has not said it to anyone. People usually know these things. They just need someone to say them out loud first.
You are going to go to sea with 90 warships and settle a Targaryen succession crisis and offer mercy to a boy being used as a weapon. And then you are going to come home and we are going to have Tywin Lannister in the throne room.
Yes,
I have been thinking about the throne room part for a long time.
I know you have. I want you to be the one who speaks the sentence. Not father, you.
Robert will want to.
Robert will want to say it with a warhammer, which will feel satisfying for exactly as long as it takes to understand that a dead Tywin is a martyr, and a martyred house is harder to end than a living one. What I want for Tywin Lannister is not his death. I want the thing he actually values destroyed while he is alive to watch it happen. And I want him to spend the rest of his life understanding that it was a woman he dismissed who decided what that looked like. That is the ending that lasts.
He dismissed me because I was northern and young, and because my father's first interest was in the alliance rather than what I wanted. He looked at me the way men look at women they consider pieces, useful for positioning, interchangeable otherwise. He has spent 7 years revising that assessment, one event at a time, and never once saying so out loud. And I want to be looking at him when it finishes arriving.
Then you will be. I have already told father. He disagreed for half a minute and then he agreed.
What changed his mind?
I told him that the sentence should answer what Tywin actually values, which is not his life, but his permanence. He does not fear death the way other men do. He fears irrelevance. He fears the line ending, the name dimming, the work of 50 years coming to nothing. The wall gives him a life and takes away everything the life was for, and he will spend every day of the rest of it understanding that a Stark girl from the north is the reason. That is a more complete punishment than the Warhammer would deliver, and you are the one who earned the right to deliver it.
Lyanna is very still for a moment. Then she nods once, the way she nods when she has decided something completely.
Come back whole.
I will come back with their fleet.
The Royal Navy is on the water in 5 days. 90 warships moving east through the narrow sea under Jon's banner. And before they sail, he has already sent riders to Braavos and Tyrosh with gold and a simple request: the timing and route of the Golden Company's transport fleet, as exact as money can make it. The information arrives by fast ship on the 6th day at sea. The Golden Company sailed from Pentos 2 days after the Royal Fleet left King's Landing, moving west through the southern Stepstones passage at the speed of fully loaded transports, which is slow, and they are 12 days from the Stormland's coast. Jon looks at the chart, finds the throat, and adjusts his heading. He arrives 2 days before them. The throat narrows to 600 yards at its tightest point, and 90 warships in 3 staggered lines fill it completely. And when the Golden Company's transport fleet rounds the eastern headland and sees what is waiting for them, the leading ships stop and the fleet compresses like a fist closing, and the parley flag goes up after 40 minutes, which is about how long it takes a competent military man to complete the relevant calculation. The Captain General comes aboard Jon's ship in the grey morning light. He is a broad and careful professional, and he makes his case plainly. The contract, the unbroken record, the impossibility of simply turning back without the consequence of dishonor. Jon listens to all of it and then explains, with the patience he uses when explaining things he has already thought through completely, that the man who retained the company used a false representation to compel their service, that the laws of contract in every free city void an agreement built on false representation, and that the company's honor is not broken by declining to fulfill a contract that was never legitimate to begin with. He gives the Captain General 2 hours to consider it. Then he asks to speak to the boy. The boy is 16 years old and silver-haired and violet-eyed, and holding himself with the careful posture of someone who has been told his entire life that he is owed something enormous and is not entirely sure whether he believes it. He sits across from Jon in the cabin and looks at him with the searching attention of someone who has been preparing for a particular kind of encounter and is finding something else in the room.
You are not going to be harmed. I want that to be the first thing you hear from me, because you were told otherwise by someone who needed you to believe it. And I want to give you the correct information before anything else. You are not going to be imprisoned. You are not going to be executed. You are going to be given a choice, which is something I understand you have not been given much of. And whatever you choose, I am going to honor it. And the honoring of it will not be contingent on whether it is convenient for me.
He looks at Jon for a long moment, the sound of the sea working at the hull around them.
I do not know with certainty who your parents were. I am not going to stand here and tell you your claim is false, because I do not know that it is false, and I will not claim certainty I do not have. What I know is that you were handed a destiny by men who needed you to carry it, and that the choice of whether to carry it was never really offered to you, and that I am offering it now. If you want to press the claim through lawful means, before assembled lords, with evidence examined and questions answered, I will receive that process honestly and deal with whatever it produces. If you want to put it down and have a life that belongs to you rather than to someone else's plan, I will make that possible, and I will not make it conditional, and I will not withdraw it the moment the alternative becomes convenient. Those are the options. They are both real. I am not performing generosity. I am offering it.
The boy says nothing for a long moment. Then he asks a single question, in a voice that is trying to be steady and mostly is. He asks whether Jon would have chosen the throne if he had been given the choice at 16.
I was not given the choice. I was born into it and raised toward it, and it was always clear what I was. I cannot tell you what I would have chosen if the circumstances had been different, because I cannot unknow what I know. What I can tell you is that the life I have is mine, and the people who gave it to me asked me what I thought about things, rather than telling me what my purpose was. That matters more than the throne. The throne is just a chair. The life is the thing.
The boy looks at him for a long time. He does not press his claim. Jon returns to King's Landing 2 weeks later, sailing into the harbor with 90 warships and 37 captured transports, and the Golden Company formally disbanded under the terms negotiated in the Throat, and a 16-year-old boy sitting in a cabin below decks, trying to figure out what a life that belongs to himself actually looks like. He finds Lyanna in the solar, and she looks at him when he comes through the door with the look she has always given him in doorways, measuring. Robert is beside her, and for a moment, neither of them says anything, which is the loudest kind of welcome.
It went exactly as planned. The fleet, the parley, the boy, all of it.
The boy.
He will be provided for quietly. A name, land in the reach, enough to build something real. Not a crown, a life. He is 16 years old, and he has been carrying someone else's purpose since he was old enough to understand what purpose means. And he put it down when I gave him the chance. He asked me one question before he decided. He asked whether I would have chosen the throne if the choice had been offered to me at 16.
And what did you tell him?
I told him I could not unknow what I know, which meant I could not say what I would have chosen if I had been him. And then I told him that the life I have is mine, and that the people who gave it to me asked me what I thought rather than telling me what my purpose was, and that this mattered more than the throne. He was quiet for a long time, and then he said he did not want to press the claim.
Just like that.
Just like that. He was not a villain. He was not a fool. He was a boy who had been aimed at something and was ready to stop being aimed if someone told him it was allowed. People usually are given the option. We just do not often offer it.
And the fleet.
37 transports and 11 warships now flying the Royal Banner, which expands the Crown's naval capacity by roughly a third and changes the calculation for anyone considering a seaborne challenge in the next generation. Tywin inadvertently improved our position. I intend to make sure he understands that when we tell him.
When is he arriving?
The summons went out before we made harbor, day after tomorrow. I want it in the throne room, with every available lord present, because the lesson is not only for Tywin, it is for everyone watching Tywin, and I want them watching.
You have been planning the throne room since before you left.
I have been planning it since the day we received Varys's report. The fleet was necessary. Tywin in the throne room was always the point. The fleet was just the thing that had to happen first.
Robert looks at his son, and then at his wife, and then at the ceiling, in the particular way he does when a thing has happened that he is still catching up to.
You sent the summons before you made harbor.
The rider went out by fast ship from the Stepstones the morning after the parley. He had 2 days on us. Tywin should be on the road before he receives any other account of what happened.
And if he refuses the summons?
Then the 40 knights who delivered it escort him anyway, and the summons becomes an arrest, and the throne room conversation becomes a trial instead of a hearing. Either outcome ends in the same place. I simply prefer the version where he walks in under his own power, because it is more dignified, and I find I prefer dignity when it is available.
I am going to enjoy telling him about the fleet.
In the throne room, day after tomorrow. I have already sent the summons.
Tywin Lannister arrives in King's Landing 2 days later, and he is escorted to the throne room. And the throne room is full. Every great lord currently in the city, the Martell ambassador, whose presence Tywin notes from the door with the expression of a man cataloging information he cannot use at this precise moment. Jon Arryn at the foot of the dais, the Queen's guard in position, Robert on the throne with the stillness he has learned to inhabit when the moment requires it. Jon to his right, Lyanna to his left, and Lyanna is the one Tywin looks at as he walks the length of the hall, because Tywin has always understood where the actual weight of a room sits, even when the obvious power is somewhere else. He bows, he waits.
You funded a pretender. You retained the Golden Company to carry him to Westerosi soil and raise a banner designed to dissolve the legitimacy of the succession. And you did this while writing letters of sympathy for the villages your men burned, and dining with Jon Arryn, and congratulating me on my son's conduct at the Stepstones 3 years ago. I have the depositions of 3 Golden Company captains, a letter in your own hand describing the pretender as a useful instrument, and the records of 4 years of payments through Braavosi banking houses. I am telling you this because I want you to understand that we are not here today to establish whether it happened. We are here to decide what happens next.
Your Grace, I acted in what I believed to be the interest of the realm. The question of legitimacy.
You burned 31 people at Miller's Ford, and then offered to help find the killers. You funded a child as a weapon and aimed him at my family for 4 years. Do not tell me about the interests of the realm. I have agreed to let my wife say what happens next, and I am honoring that agreement. And I need you to stop talking now, before my patience for this particular fiction runs out.
Tywin goes silent. He looks at Lyanna.
You offered Cersei twice, before the rebellion, when Robert was occupied with finding me, and after the war, when you believed the chaos of a new dynasty would make him desperate for your gold and your alliance. Both times he refused. I have been watching what that refusal meant to you for 7 years, and I want you to understand that I am not unaware of it. You did not do this for the realm. You did this because your blood is not in the succession, and you decided that an entitlement you were owed had been taken from you by a girl from the north who had no business being where she was. I know that is the truth of it. Tell me if I am wrong.
Tywin says nothing.
You built House Lannister into something deliberate. The gold, the armies, the marriages, the Lannister men in every seat of influence you could reach over 50 years. You built it because you understood that the only thing that outlasts a man is what he leaves behind. I know that about you because I have studied you as carefully as you have studied us, and it is the truest thing there is to know. And because it is true, and because I want the sentence to mean something to the man receiving it, rather than simply satisfying the people watching, I am going to take the thing you actually value, rather than your life.
The room is completely still.
Casterly Rock passes to the crown. Your gold, your seat, your armies, your accumulated influence, all of it reverts. Not the Lannister name, because I am not that kind of queen, and this is not that kind of reign. And your children and grandchildren deserve to build what they can with their own hands, rather than receive what you would have handed them. But the rock is gone, and the generation of careful work you poured into placing Lannister people in positions of power in this court is gone, and what you built is finished. You will go to the wall. not as a prisoner, because I am not sending you to a cell, as a brother of the Night's Watch, which has kept this realm alive for 8,000 years, and requires a man to spend what is left of his life in service to something that is not himself and not his house. You are old enough that service of that kind should suit you, and you will be alive, which is more than Miller's Ford received.
Tywin looks at her for a long moment, and what happens in his face in that moment is the thing no one in this room has ever seen there before, which is the expression of a man who has lost the only thing he actually valued and knows it all the way down.
You are taking my legacy.
You aimed a child at my son and called it statecraft. The sentence fits the crime.
The wall. You send the Lord of Casterly Rock to the wall.
I send a man who committed treason against his king to an order that has protected the realm since before the Targaryens arrived. I have considered it carefully, and I want you to know that the mercy in it is genuine, not performed. You could have been executed twice in this hall today, and you are not being executed. I want credit for that decision, the same way I would expect you to receive credit for any decision that cost you something.
And if you refuse?
Tywin looks at Jon, and the look between them is the look between two men who have been studying each other from opposite sides of a board for years and are now on the same square.
The 40 knights at the door are not a formality. You can stand in this hall and decline the sentence and find out what happens next. Or you can walk out of here with your life and your name, and the knowledge that what was done to you today was proportionate, and that the mercy in it was real, and that I could have made a different decision in the Stepstones about the fleet and the people who funded it, and did not. Both options are in front of you. I am asking you to choose the one that does not require anyone else to die today, because I am tired of things requiring people to die, and I would like this particular story to end without it.
Tywin looks at Robert. He looks at Lyanna. He looks at Jon. He looks at the floor of the throne room he has been walking through for 30 years. The floor that was here before any of them and will be here after all of them. And he finds in it whatever he finds, and then he nods. Once, and the hall watches him walk out. The room breathes and then fills with sound. The restrained, urgent sound of lords who have witnessed something they are going to be discussing for the rest of their lives and need to begin immediately. Robert watches them. Lyanna watches Jon.
Casterly Rock.
Goes to Edmure Tully's second boy when he comes of age. The Westerlands need a western anchor, and it keeps the region productive instead of letting it fester. I have been turning it over for 6 months.
Of course you have. Your mother has been looking at me with an expression for the last 2 minutes, and I cannot read it, which is unusual.
I have been deciding whether this is the right moment.
It never is. Say it anyway.
A raven arrived this morning from across the narrow sea, addressed to Jon. It says, "I understand you have been busy. So have I. My dragons are no longer small. I think it is time we spoke. It is signed with one word, Daenerys."
The throne room has emptied by now, and the three of them are alone in the winter light. And Jon looks at his parents and then at the letter in Lyanna's hand, with the seal of the three-headed dragon, red on black.
Dragons. The last ones died 60 years ago.
Apparently not all of them.
Are you concerned?
I am interested. A Targaryen queen with dragons is not a threat or an ally until she decides which one she wants to be. And writing a letter means she wants to find out. That is worth a conversation.
She could also be a threat who is writing a letter to understand what she is riding into before she decides to ride into it.
Yes, which is why I want the conversation. I would rather know what she is before she decides than make assumptions and find out I was wrong after she has crossed the narrow sea. She has been in Essos for 3 years with dragons that have been growing. She could have crossed already. She chose to write. That means she is thinking rather than moving, and people who think before they move are worth talking to.
She said they are no longer small. She said that specifically.
She chose that word specifically, and she wanted us to think about what specifically means in that sentence. It means the growing has gone well. It also means she wants us to know the growing has gone well before we respond, which is information she is offering as part of the opening of the conversation, not as a threat. A woman who wanted to threaten us would not describe her dragons as no longer small. She would tell us what they have destroyed.
You have been thinking about this longer than this morning.
I have been thinking about Daenerys Targaryen since the first report came back from Essos about the dragons. 3 years ago, when they were still the size of dogs. I have been watching the reports since then, and tracking the growing and thinking about what a Targaryen queen with actual dragons means for every calculation we have made about this realm's future. She is not a problem to be solved. She is a variable that has to be understood, and the only way to understand a variable is to give it the chance to explain itself.
And if what it explains is that she wants the throne?
Then we have a conversation about what a kingdom with 2 claimants looks like, and whether there is an arrangement that serves the realm better than a war. And we have it honestly, and without pretending either of us does not want what we want. She is Rhaegar's daughter, if her account is true, and Rhaegar's blood and mine are the same blood, which means this is a family conversation before it is a political one. Those are occasionally possible to resolve without burning things down.
And what does that mean for our planning?
It means the next part requires a bigger room, and a better chair than that one.
Robert looks at his son across the empty throne room, and then he does the thing he almost never does in this hall, which is laugh, fully and freely. The laugh from the rebellion rather than the years after. The laugh that belongs to the man rather than the king. The laugh that Lyanna has been listening for since she first heard it on a balcony at Harrenhal. Lyanna stands and descends the dais, and at the bottom pauses and looks back at both of them. And what is in her face is the thing she does not often show, which is the face of a woman who was carried out of a Dornish tower on a piece of furniture 21 years ago, and can see from where she stands that what she built with what followed is going to hold.
What are you thinking?
I am thinking about a godswood in winter, and a very loud man who apologized to me before I had said a word of accusation. I am thinking about a year in a tower, and what came out of surviving it. I am thinking that everything I was given in this life that was difficult was also the thing that made everything that followed possible, because you cannot build anything real without something hard underneath it. I am thinking I was right.
About which part?
All of it. You, this, him, all of it.
Robert says nothing. The nothing means everything. Jon watches his parents in the empty throne room and thinks about a spear shaft snapped in a clinch at 14, and a Dornish morning with a shattered leg, and a fleet arranged across the throat of the Stepstones, and an old lion walking out of this hall an hour ago with the thing he spent his life building stripped from him in a sentence delivered by a woman he dismissed as inconsequential, and he thinks about what comes next. The dragons are no longer small. The world is still arriving. He is 21 years old, and he has never been more ready for what comes through the door. That's my view of this alternate timeline. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and endless possibilities, and we are here to uncover them with you. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the 7 kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.